The Golden State Warriors are about to embark on a 6-game road trip. This is a crazy part of the schedule. The Golden State Warriors are currently 1-5 on the road this year, undefeated at home, but that 1-5 record, it's going to look very different 2 weeks from now when the Warriors come back from, again, a 6-game road swing, including a trip to OKC to start the trip, taking on the defending world champs, 2 games at San Antonio, a nice little reprieve in New Orleans, and then back to the grind with another back-to-back, 2 back-to-backs on this road trip, both at the start of it, OKC, San Antonio, and at the end of it, Orlando, Miami. How the Warriors look when they get back is going to be interesting, and it may be telling and revealing in terms of what to expect for the rest of the year. It also might not. I mean, a road trip like this, if the Warriors come back just battered and bruised, there's still a lot of season to go to course correct. We haven't even seen DeAnthony Melton play yet. We haven't seen Seth Curry play yet. But regardless, one of the Warriors' most important players is Jonathan Kuminga and his agent, Aaron Turner, who knows his stuff when it comes to basketball. He joins us next. I have a lot of questions for the man. Hopefully they're interesting. Hopefully his answers are interesting. Hopefully you are riveted and entertained. And let's get into it. Aaron Turner, agent for Jonathan Kuminga, here on Golden Days, powered by FanDuel. Let's go. Welcome to the program. It's called Golden Days. I'm your host for the afternoon or evening or morning, depending on when you're watching this. I'm recording this on Monday morning. I'm on Threads and Instagram at Dog Wild. Over on Twitter, my handle is at Surf Journalist. The program on both platforms at Golden Days Pod. Before we bring Aaron on the program, I want to give some love real fast to the official title sponsor of Golden Days, and that is FanDuel, the official sportsbook of both the program and the Believe Network, which we're a part of. And I was hoping to get the line for the Warriors OKC. That's, again, a heavyweight fight Tuesday night. But the line currently is not available. What is available, however, is an update on the over-under wins total for your Golden State Warriors this season. That line is currently 49.5. The bookies remain bullish on your Golden State Warriors. And if you think let's say the Warriors come back from this road trip, they're currently 6-5. And let's say they go 1-5 on this trip. Okay. Sorry to be negative here. And I'm also sorry, side note, that I've been so negative for weeks now. I believe me, I try to be a self-aware individual. And I know that I have not been a bastion of positivity and there haven't exactly been a big sighting of flowers and all the symbols of hope on this program when it comes to the Warriors. I apologize for that. Sometimes again, the truth isn't always positive, and I guess my outlook could be a little more positive, but it's just I'm just, authenticity sometimes comes with a price, and that price in this case being not being overly optimistic about how this team is currently being run by their head coach. Nonetheless, look, if the Warriors come back from this road trip, let's say 1-5, you're suddenly looking at a 7-10 Warriors team, and that OU is not going to stay at 49.5. So depending on how you feel about this team, you may want to bet the over. You might think they're a 50-win team still. Again, FanDuel is very bullish about the Warriors. I think 49.5 is a high number for an OU. But if you think the Warriors are going to finish closer to what they've done in recent years past, what were they, 48-34 last year, right? Or was it 46? I can't remember. Well, regardless, it was still under 50. So if you think that's going to happen, then bet the under. Regardless, you can find all that fun at FanDuel, the official sportsbook, again, of Golden Days and the Believe Network. Also want to give a quick shout out to our merch store. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is a QR code right there you can click on to go to our merch store. We're selling some awesome swag. I wholeheartedly endorse our products in terms of quality, in terms of style, right? You are going to look good wearing our stuff. And affordability. We actually were able to bring some prices down on a lot of our products from the initial rollout. So our merch store is available on our official YouTube channel. It's right there at the front. So if you just go to YouTube and find us, search Golden Daze, Daze, spelled like
Golden Days in reference to the Matthew McConaughey movie Dazed and Confused.
Sure, I'll give the people that spelling one more time. How do you spell dazed exactly in Golden Days?
Golden Days in reference to the Matthew McConaughey movie Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So find us there. Just search Golden Days. I think technically our YouTube handle is the Golden Days, but regardless, easy to find. And right there at the front is our store, a bunch of items. You click on any of the items, it takes you to the main website that handles all our merch sales, or just click right there on that QR code. Support the program, please, if you don't mind. Sincerest thanks to all of you in advance for that. And without any further ado, let's bring on our guest for this afternoon, Aaron Turner, agent for Jonathan Kuminga and a whole bunch of other players here on the Golden Days. An absolute pleasure to have on the program, Jonathan. Not just Jonathan Kuminga. You have a whole client base of individuals that you represent. Aaron Turner of Veris Sports. Let's let the graphic open up here. You can follow Aaron on Twitter at ARockTurner20. Great to see you, brother. How the hell are you doing? We're coming live, not live, but recording this, but for the audience, it's live. The day after the Warriors beat the Pacers, first time ever at Chase Center, and they're about to embark on in my opinion is the most grueling road trip of the season. 6 games, it's bookended by back-to-backs. OKC, San Antonio, Tuesday, Wednesday. The trip finishes with Orlando, Miami next Tuesday, Wednesday. This trip can reveal a lot. Great to see you, brother. Thanks for joining the show. And let's start there, man. Like, what are your thoughts on what to expect, what could happen? Just take it away, brother. Great to see you, brother.
I mean, yeah, no, good being back. Yeah, I mean, Steve said this, I think, out on the podium, but I'll tell you, like this schedule for them has been horrific, and this is like the hardest road trip I've coming off of. If you put into perspective the games they've played and the rest days and what they're going into, it's like in the age of the players. I mean, it's probably the hardest road trip I can remember, like following. So
yeah,
I mean, this it's a good thing they won last night, because this thing this could be a very, very tough trip. There's no doubt.
It's crazy, man. So we're 11 games into the season. The Warriors are a game above 500. Those 2 losses at Milwaukee and Indiana just sting. Because in my opinion, this team should be 8-3 going into this road trip. Instead, they're 6-5. I can't begin to imagine what the conversation is going to be like if, let's say, they go 1-5 on this trip, which is very plausible because you're playing San Antonio twice, OKC, a road game in Orlando is not going to be easy. Miami's on fire this year. Like it's who knows how this is going to go, but we're 11 games into the season, and JK, a player who, again, if you watch this show, you know how I feel about this kid, and more importantly, just how I feel about his usage. To me, he should be playing 30 minutes or more a night. His role should not be a role per se. He has from the time he was in high school. This was a top dog individual who you give the ball to and let him take over, and instead he's being pigeonholed routinely. Again, this is just my take on it. What is your take on Jonathan Kuminga 11 games into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been like some good, some bad. I think, a lot of trying to figure it out, because there's I think a lot of people don't understand the moving target that JK has to hit, from who's in the lineup, who's playing, changing your game dependent on if you're playing with this group of guys or this group of guys. And I'm not saying that players, and I have a lot of guys I represent, that, some guys are out, you get more opportunity than others. But this one has the unique nuance of, like, you really have to move your game and your skill set around, because JK can do so much depending on who's out there, and really be bought into that night every night. And that, again, is easier said than done. And I don't think a lot of people really would understand that. You can look at numbers and analytics, but that doesn't necessarily help you with psychology or the mentality of, like, coming off a monster game, and then you have to change what you're doing. And then, there's a lot of figuring it out through 11 games. And I think there's been some really good things. There's been some negative things. There's some stuff he has to continue to grow from. And I think that it's funny to me, like we were talking before the show, I see how JK gets judged. It's from commentators. It's from the fan base. I've never seen anybody this polarizing to a team. It's very bizarre, right? Because it's like, it's not like JK is like, this 8-time Hall of Famer yet. It's like he's still working his way through this, but he is such a point of everything, right? If the Warriors, you're either pro JK or not against JK, and it's like you can't see the other side no matter what. Like, it's hard for the people that want to blame JK for every problem to not do that. And then there's the people that really love JK and would maybe even sometimes go over the top to defend him. I obviously, of course, as agent and a believer in him and defend him, but he's not perfect. He's working through this. They're all working through the schedule, the understanding of the role he's in that night. But I think all in all, like, there's so many positives to this that I don't think a lot of people take away. Like the Sacramento game per se, like, I think that was great in the sense of, a lot of people won't want to hear this, but for me, I was more on JK after that game, and he owned it and said totally right, was, nobody ever most players in the NBA don't ever think they commit fouls, right? But, I don't care if you fouled the guy or not. Like, you're the first option on the team that night. Like, you can't even put yourself in that situation to get in foul trouble. And that was, to me, an experience to learn from, of like, look, you had to stay on the floor. By getting in foul trouble early in the third and then picking up a fifth early in the fourth, you totally destroyed your offensive rhythm, which was going. And so to a lot of people, like, oh, he lost the game, he turned it over to me, it was like, okay, well, there was something to take away from that and grow. And if you look at JK's peers that I would compare him to, and a lot of people won't like this, but if I'm going to compare him to Jaylen Brown, Paolo Banchero, Anthony Edwards, etc., which I do, they got to learn and play through those.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying that all situations are created equal, but to say that that's that there's not good things happening here is, to me, not, I don't see it like that. Makes me, I'm not going to say people don't know basketball, but I mean, I know on a high level what development looks like, and it has to come from mistakes. Like, one of the best sayings I always use is there's no wins and losses, there's only wins and lessons, right? Because that's how you learn. And as long as you're willing to learn from it and grow from it, then I bet you Jonathan Kuminga, next time he's in the fourth quarter in that situation, he's going to be well aware that, like, I can't pick up a fifth foul right now. Yeah. I have to be careful. In fact, maybe I need to openly say, hey, switch me off DeMar right now because I can't guard him how I need to aggressively. Like, these are little nuanced things that just come with having gone through different things. So I think, like, there's been, good things. There's been nights that weren't great. And the whole team, you can tell, and I don't think that's just JK. Like, they're all trying to figure out how this looks. And I don't think it's just about JK. I think it's about the minutes and the wear and tear on the older guys, which is, understandable. Of like, okay, what can we put on them every night, and what are we going to get out of that? And that's, you can see, is going to be a dance they're going to have to do all year.
And the Warriors look so different with Steph and without Steph, obviously, right? I actually think the fan base that's enormously critical of JK, and my theory on this has always been that you have this big chunk of Warriors fans who have what I call an inherent bias anytime Steve Kerr makes a decision, right? Like, if Kerr makes a call, you have this inherent bias that immediately creeps into about half the fan base who doesn't pay attention to too much nuance or detail. And so if Kerr does something, they just immediately assume that's the right call, right? And so I've been spending 3 years of my life basically battling all sorts of individuals saying, look, he's I'm not trying to insult the man. I think Steve Kerr, as a coach, schematically speaking, in terms of his vision of a court and how to run an offense and even defense as well, is brilliant. And I don't think that's left. But the rotational decisions are also a huge part of the job. And the minutes he gives to certain people and doesn't give to others, it raises a lot of eyebrows in my book, especially with young players who I think you have to give minutes to for them to learn. There's no shortcuts for development. I also don't believe that benching a player if they make a mistake is the proper way to teach them a lesson. Maybe if you're a veteran and you're rebellious or something, maybe fine. Like you're trying to prove a point or whatever. Maybe it's an egotistical battle. But with youngsters, and it's not just Kuminga, man. It's Moses Moody. More recently, Will Richard, who has been lighting it up to start the season as a rookie. But immediately following that 30-point night in Sacramento, you hear Steve Kerr publicly say, "Hey, other his teammates better look out if they make mistakes because this guy's on their heels." And you're thinking, "Wow, Will Richard's going to get a big role." And then the next 2-3 games, he doesn't show up until late in the second quarter. And he's still delivering. My point is, I think there's just, and I don't think Steve Kerr is doing this intentionally. And you could add to this or not. I just think there's something missing there in terms of understanding what it takes to develop young people. That's just me. And you look at Jonathan Kuminga, I thought he had an awesome start to the season. Like that closing lineup, for example, opening night where we saw like Jimmy Butler, Dre, Jimmy, Steph, and Al Horford was the closing center that night. But they won. They beat a good Lakers team, and we saw a semblance of what this could be, right? And then Steph gets hurt. And you and I were talking about the Kings game, and I love that game. I actually took positives from that because we saw so much good for what we can see short term in the future and long term in the future. But I don't appreciate 20 minutes for a young player who could be pivotal to you in the future. I just think the handling of Kuminga in terms of minutes is off base. So what's your interpretation of minute usage and a coach's responsibility on that front, if you don't mind?
I mean, look, for me, I think, like, generally speaking, like I said, I think just from a overhaul of like how JK is judged from I'll say this more of the fan base and everything. It's like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like silly.
Yes.
And how people compare him to and the player arc he's in. And I mean, JK is a high usage, high throttle guy. And this was part of what I talked about this summer. And I mean, it's staying true right now. Like you want to believe that every guy can play a 4-minute stint and be great in that 4-minute stint and know exactly what to do and be in rhythm. But there's a saying in the NBA, it's not the best, well, now with 2A's, right? It's not the best 510 players. It's the best, call it 120, maybe 150, whatever. And then people that are the guys that are role players. There's a lot of guys in Europe or China that are better, if I had to say who's a better scorer or better playmaker, than guys that are in the NBA. And that's just how the business is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your stars and your role players. And especially to like learn to be a role player, like guys like JK with his athleticism and talent. I mean, it would be a long time before he's able to play in a small fit box. That is an acquired skill. And I have guys that can do that you can put in for a short stint, but I promise you, none of them have a close to the amount of talent that Jonathan Kuminga has. So it's very, I think people get very frustrated when they see JK sometimes. They're going, we need him to do more role players. Well, okay, I get on this team maybe, but that does not diminish JK of what he is as a player just because
Correct.
of how he looks out here. And it's like, well, how would that other guy look if you dropped him into a non-Steph setting where it was a different team, right? We saw that in some games in Minnesota. And now it's like, wait a second, like the makeup comes off and it's like, this is a totally, like, it's not even close anymore. You see how much better JK is, but it's what's being asked to do at that certain time. And I think JK takes a brunt of a lot of people's frustration, maybe in just the moves that have been made over the years to not complement Steph with maybe more of a role player that would fit that more than a JK, right? So he takes the brunt of that, and that doesn't really make sense. Again, from my perspective, I look at what JK does in higher usage, higher opportunity situations, because truthfully, if he stays on the Warriors long term, eventually that's what it's going to be. Or if he's moved, that's what it's going to be. No one's evaluating Jonathan Kuminga and how he plays 20 minutes, 18.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know, like, okay, if you're one of our main guys, what do you do? And so
Yeah.
if you're me, you go, I mean, listen, I'm not ever saying take any minute for granted or don't play well, right? But I'm also in the reality of like how this thing works, because I've been doing it for a long time. And what this year, games between 30 and 39 minutes, JK shooting 52.4 from the field, 41.7 from three, 80.6 from the line, 63.3 true shooting percentage. He's averaging 20.2 points, 7.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists. All in all, like, yeah, that's what I want to see from JK when he's playing big minutes. I think he could even be a little better than that, because I think the Sacramento game, the second half, fell off a cliff because of the foul trouble. But I think that's where people get like very confused of like what they're dealing with and what they want at times on this team. And I think it just gets pushed down on and onto him. And I think a lot of times there's just, you'll see the confusion because if you're looking at JK in those 6 games and he's playing above 30 minutes and he's playing that well, right? And then you got to move back to a different role and reset your brain every time. Like, okay, I gotta change how I'm playing tonight or thinking. And like, look, like it's not like he's figured it out to a degree. It's just not how people want to see it be perfect, and it's not gonna be. I think a big takeaway already this year, though, like he's played better with Jimmy early on. That was the big knock at the end of last year. Him and Jimmy have great chemistry. I think we're seeing that more and more. I think him and Jimmy, if this thing can get figured out the right way, could be very scary if it can get perfectly hammered out. So there's positives, there's negatives. I mean, he gets a lot of pressure put down onto him. I don't think he overly like cares in that sense, but even from us around him, it's like, the night against Sacramento, like you got to go kill this night and you got to really play great. And it's just, and look, this is the NBA. So guys deal with this all the time, but he has to constantly move in and out of like roles and feelings and emotions. And I think this road trip is going to be pivotal. I do. I think we're at an important point of like, where does this go? This has not been smooth sailing. I think something's got to get figured out. I think, yeah. And again, like I said, JK to me is the type of guy that like, I want you playing hard. Like I loved last night how he was on the glass. I thought he was so aggressive. He maybe settled for a jump shot or two that we wouldn't love, but he also sat kind of a weird rhythm, and he kind of had like he sat 12 minutes in a row. It's kind of like a weird, like, to my point, he does better when he has the rhythm of the game. And I think he could have again maybe taken 1 or 2 shots that he shouldn't have.
But who can't? You can say that about anybody, Aaron.
I agree. So that's why I'm not going to beat him up much about it, except to say, like, like we talked. I said, JK, if you're you miss your first couple threes, like use all the other elements of your game. That's why we work on everything. Like, don't fall in love with that. With that said, if you rewatch the film, it's not as easy said as done. Like in the first quarter, he was at the rim, he was doing well, they were playing well, and then he sat for a while. So these are just, listen, I'm not, again, it's Steve's managing a lot. There's a lot of age, maybe to him, he needs to keep JK fresh for this road trip. So he was managing minutes. There's a lot of moving, but I'm saying there's a lot of moving targets. There's a lot of figuring stuff out game to game. And JK is doing his best to do that. And I think he's shown a lot of the work he's put in this offseason and the improvements. And I think there's things he has to keep figuring out to maximize what this team needs from him. And I'm hoping on this road trip, it kind of all could come together. I think it could. I do think that maybe we're closer to this all clicking than people may see. But I loved his aggression last night on the glass. I hope he can, keep that up, and then, just keep getting to the rim, the paint, make the defense make decisions and make the right play, and live at the free throw line. You're making your free throws. So it's, I guess, it's been an interesting up and down 11 games. This road trip is going to be very pivotal. JK just has to manage the the ups and downs of this the best he
Yeah.
can. We all support him and try and trying to think. It's just, it's the schedule hasn't helped. The Warriors have had like a brutal schedule, right? And that's not helping anybody, especially at
No.
their age. So I
Yeah.
mean, he's managing a lot. He's trying to, everything has a butterfly effect down chain and whatnot. But I'm excited what I've seen of JK when he's played
Me
big
too.
minutes. Those numbers. I mean, that's what that whether it's here or the next team, you're bringing him to do that. Play 30 minutes.
Aaron, I've been saying this has been, I feel like a broken record repeating this, but every time I look at the numbers of Kuminga when he plays 30 minutes or more, and even like national media members with influence have said that about Kuminga as well. I think I heard Bill Simmons once say that, like that some players like they don't always start great. So like you got to look at a body of work from beginning to end. And if a player, in my opinion, is not getting 30 minutes, the body of work is incomplete. It's like the great players of this game who are putting up these big numbers. A huge part of it is the minutes that come with it, and Kuminga every time. Not every time is being hyperbolic, but almost every time. I mean, when you look at the averages and the numbers, when he plays 30 minutes or more, and you just brought up the numbers from this season over his career, even they're exemplary. Over 20 points a game, efficient 3-point shooting, and I agree with you. The hustle on the boards. Kuminga leading the team in rebounding this season. That was a category that he was challenged on, and he's answering that challenge. 7.2 rebounds per game for Kuminga. It's been like in these last few games, I just don't, the minutes thing I just don't get. And again, this is one thing. Steve Kerr is the only one that can answer the rhyme and reason behind
the
who
only
he
thing I
plays.
say there's a bigger curtain we don't get to see behind of when are you managing minutes of what, and when are you planning on, some guys might need a rest. Like we don't know those things sometimes,
Yeah,
you don't
true.
I don't necessarily know. But again, I don't want JK to not play as well when he plays 18 minutes, but the reality is the guy plays clearly better when he plays 30 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, it's enough data at this point. Let's just say that it's clearly a real thing.
For whatever reason, like there's been consistency with Kerr when it comes to minutes with the youngsters, right? Again, I brought up Moses Moody, Will Richard, Trace Jackson Davis, Quinn Post, Guy Santos. I have no idea what's going on there this season. I thought he was going to be a much bigger part of this team, but he just
was great in that Indiana game. He brought them on the road. He was the reason they were even, took that lead. And
right, but there's one youngster who's an exception to this, and it's obvious who I'm talking about. And for example, I was debating someone last night who was like, "Well, look at net rating, bro. Like Pajemski's net rating was he was the argument this one fan brought up to me. They were like, but dude, the Warriors were 20 points better with Pajemski on the floor versus when Kuminga was on the floor." It was some weird number they pulled up like that because these net rating nerds obsessed with this. And my response always is net rating is a great stat if you're looking at it if you're looking at it with all 5 players involved. The moment you start looking at 3-man lineups, 2-man lineups, it's a subjective stat where you can cherry pick what you want to get out of it. And last night, for example, Kuminga did not play the fourth quarter. Pajemski did play the fourth quarter, and that's the answer. That's why the team scored 20 more points with Pajemski, because Kuminga didn't play the fourth quarter. Pajemski did. They outscored the Pacers by 21 in that fourth quarter. It's really that simple sometimes. So I guess my message is to certain people out there, stop pretending net rating is a stat that you should be focusing so hard on
I
to
think
analyze.
It brings up a bigger thing that I see, and I see this around the NBA too. I think I always say, like, numbers can lie because there's so much context you have to understand around numbers, right? Like, you don't know, maybe a guy has a bad night, but you don't know that he didn't feel well or he's dealing with something. Like, do numbers say they don't? And I get it. You can say, well, in the long run, we're going to look more at net ratings. But first of all, I look at net rating, and a lot of this stuff is the combination of the players, not just one. It's a 5-man sport, and that's what you're trying to blend. But the style of the team, the people on the floor with the player, I still believe, like, just watching a game, I can tell a lot more than any BPM, EPM like stat is going to tell me. And trust me, I use those stats But you have to really, like, a lot of times I'll say to people who call me after a game, "Oh, I saw the box score," and like they'll be talking like, "Did you watch the game?" No, well, don't come to me with just the box score. I mean, you could ask a question, but don't come with an opinion
Yeah.
based on a box score. I think that's complete um, nonsense. And look, I don't. I'm not going to talk about any other players. I think from the standpoint though of JK, like again, he's in between this situation where if you look at his player arc and you compare him to those guys,
Yeah.
okay, in a vacuum, it's going to look very similar. Okay. It is. Look at the rebound rate, look at the block, the steal rate, right? Like the amount he gets to the free throw line, the point, like, and you're asking him to fit into a lower usage situation and be really good at that. None of those guys that I said earlier would be good at that.
Mm-hmm.
It is very hard. It is a different type, not it's very hard for them. It's a very different type of role to be in. As opposed to more when you're more of a high usage athlete talent that can get to the rim, get to the paint, create for yourself. So listen, it's not like JK is not trying to get better at this, and we want him to continue to be a better cutter, a better offensive rebounder, make a quick decision. But inherently, the guy has so much talent. He can get
Mm-hmm.
anywhere on the floor he wants, whenever. And so you saw in Sacramento, it was like the first quarter, the dude was just putting on a clinic of like
Yeah.
scoring footwork, like however you want to get it. And the passing has gotten better. We still got to keep working on cutting down on some of the turnovers and getting on the same page. And part of my thing with JK too is just like continuing. If the night you're going to be a first option, you have to communicate. If somebody's not in the right spot or you need something, you got to keep being vocal about that. But I mean, he's so I just think the net rate, and it moves back to these analytic conversations. It's like, I don't like the context. You're
I
not
hear
going
you.
to
Yeah.
for me. I'm going to look more and go, and people are going to say to me, well, I mean, you're saying 30 minutes, and it's like, well, did we win those games? And I'm just saying the dude is
They did.
clearly,
Side note, they did, Aaron. By the
yeah,
way, they did the majority of the time. Sorry to
okay,
interrupt.
yeah, a lot. Okay, so good. They won a lot of the games, but I would
Yes.
also just say like that's clearly pretty damn efficient. And if you want to talk about his rebounding and his, things he can do, he's clearly more suited for that role. And then if he, in his career, as he goes on, shows he can be as good as he wants to be and a legend, Hall of Famer and all the stuff JK has goals to be, which are bold goals to have, but he has left to continue to, like
Yeah.
all these other guys, improve and figure it out and get better. But there is a baseline there that, like, go ask a lot of guys to play 30 minutes consistently and keep those numbers.
To me, basketball is not a complicated sport. Keep things simple. And again, we're just talking hoops. And in my opinion, when you look at this Warriors roster, I think you could simplify things to like 8 or 9 players. Like last night, for example, I spelled it out. I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I thought Pajemski, Kuminga, Moody, Will Richard, give those 4 35 minutes. 35. Just let them play it out. Jimmy Butler, 30 minutes. Draymond Green, 25 minutes. And then there's about 35 minutes left over. Give those to Post and Guy Santos or whoever, or Horford, whoever you're playing as your center. My point is, I routinely see situations that are made complicated when they don't need to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I also like, this is where, like, and trust me, every agent, player, fan of a player, like fan, it's not just the Warriors. Everybody questions every coach's rotation. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's not inherent to Steve. It's hard, a lot of stuff too, because you don't know the behind the scenes long-term plan of load management and what
Right.
you're seeing. So it's like, and especially in this day and age in the NBA. So like, all I'm going to speak on, and like, listen, like, I'm not saying Steve probably tell you, I know every decision I've ever made is not perfect. I don't think JK would tell you he's perfect. Steve's not perfect. No one should think any of these guys are perfect.
We're all human.
Start judging them like that, it gets crazy
Yes,
to me. But
it is.
But there's, a picture that not everybody gets to see of what they're necessarily trying to accomplish. What I can clearly state to you is JK is just better when he plays a lot of minutes. And that's
Yes.
just backed by data. Why he doesn't or does sometimes, some of it is, again, not
Sorry to
necessarily.
put you on the spot there with that. I didn't
No,
mean to.
it's fine. It's just, it's not, it's, to me, it's the reality of every coach. There's people that want to question their rotations. Right, wrong. What I can speak on personally is it's JK is better when he's let loose full throttle, and you see the drop off. We've seen it for 5 years now. We've seen it. This isn't just like this is backed by numbers. The efficiency goes up with the minutes
Yes.
because he's catching a rhythm, and he's not a just catch and shoot straight line drive guy, and those guys can be a little bit more efficient sometimes in lower usage situations.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that sometimes gets projected onto JK. We want a more low usage guy. Everybody starts talking about his net rating, and it's like, it's not a fair fight. You're comparing apples to oranges, kind of.
And net rating, again, subjective stat. Factor it in if you're talking 5-player lineups. That's where you can get it objectively, empirically true. Otherwise, you're just literally just you're bullshitting. You're just talking hoops, and
it doesn't mean much to me.
It doesn't mean much. Yeah, one thing I've noticed with minutes, more specifically, like Stephen Curry used to have rotations where it used to be very simple for him. He'd play 12 minutes first and third quarters, and then he'd play the second half of the second and fourth quarters, and you'd get 36 minutes out of a game from that. Steph had a routine. And then the last few years, you saw the Warriors start to tinker with that a little bit, largely because they want to reduce the minutes, keep them fresh. But it's a pattern I notice across the board now with the Warriors. I don't see this with other teams necessarily. I'm also not studying them as close. But to the best of your knowledge, like, is this something that like Rick Celebrini is preaching for Kerr to implement, to not have players out there for like 12 straight minutes? Or do you think this is just a personal decision that where Kerr's feeling it out? Like, what's your take on not seeing Warriors players getting extended runs where you see them for like 12 minutes at a time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Warriors are pretty regimented and like on point with their load management and what they're doing. So I would imagine it's just knowing how they are, and they're pretty well organized compared to most organizations. It's way bigger than Steve. This is like very organizational on what they're doing. So listen, I'm not here to help like defend Steve or hurt Steve. I'm just giving you the facts. Like,
that's all we want. Yeah.
I think this is, I know it. It's very organizational. Like, everybody's involved in that conversation of keeping everything, where, how they're gonna do minutes and handle these older guys. So I don't think it's as simple as, Steve just playing guys. Like, you got to manage 82 games. You got to get them through, and they got to be healthy come the playoffs, and then they got to still make the playoffs. So this is like a whole. It's not just as easy as sometimes we see it in games. Like, again, you don't know if sometimes there's a reason for this because next week they're planning on this, and you gotta kind of realize that when you're watching.
It's reassuring, actually, Aaron, hearing that, because it's one thing I've wondered is there a method behind the madness? Meaning, like, are these decisions based on science, and is there a collective, a group process to this? No, it's reassuring hearing that because I mean, your client is directly a student.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a science to it. It doesn't mean it's easier for a player to handle it when they're playing, but they're not winging this. Like, the Warriors are more buttoned up and smarter than that.
I hear you. It's just weird because, again, Steph used to get these massive runs, and Steph himself will get very frustrated sometimes when he's like when he's in a rhythm or he's on a streak, and then suddenly gets pulled. Right? We've seen that.
He'll get frustrated, but then if he gets hurt in a game or two,
exactly,
it's not going to be like you got to protect people from themselves.
Exactly.
So, I mean, they're scientific, they're data backed. Like, there's not. The Warriors aren't winging it, and that's past Steve. I promise you.
That's good. No, that's reassuring.
So from that standpoint, I can tell you that.
It's a relief to hear that. Another relief I've been seeing, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, and I solicited on social media folks to submit questions that they'd like you to answer, and I got a lot of responses. I'll highlight this one. This is from Cooper Butler, MD. Who knows if they're an actual MD? Their handle is MD Truffle Shop, and they write, I would like to hear about all the stuff that Kuminga's learned from Jimmy Butler and how it's helped him process the game at a slower, more deliberate pace like Jimmy does. Jimmy, side note, last night singing effusive praise for Kuminga and the mentorship there, I think, has been huge. Cooper adding he's loved a lot of Kuminga's decisions making this year and can tell he's been doing a lot of the things that made Jimmy good. A couple years ago, Aaron, I'm sure you remember this, like Chris Paul, I felt like took on a mentorship role with some of the young players when he was here. I'm seeing that a lot now with Jimmy Butler. Draymond Green is another person that I feel like has a good relationship with Kuminga. You can elaborate on that, but what's your take on the veterans pulling players like Kuminga under their wing and helping mentor them?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Jimmy, Jimmy definitely helps JK because, again, very similar player arc where JK wants to be. Jimmy's taken 2 teams to the finals.
Yeah.
As clearly the number 1 option on those teams. That's what JK wants to be someday. So you're obviously going to hear what Jimmy has to say. I think Jimmy is a very good decision maker. I mean, right. He's a very good decision maker. He sees the game. He thinks the game. He can see 2 steps ahead. And I think all that, just JK seeing it, being around it, working with him, talking with him. That's what I think part of what you're seeing. Like, I think it's definitely part of that. He worked on it a lot this summer, the decision making, the reads. And listen, it's not going to happen overnight where it's perfect, but you definitely see the improvement, more facing up, seeing the defense, letting things settle, and then making a decision and a move. And so Jimmy's been great for him.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. It makes me feel a little reassured because sometimes I wonder, and it's not just Kuminga, it's the young players in general. It's like, are they getting the guidance that at least I think they need to grow as individuals and as basketball players, which in turn helps your organization, helps your team, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's tricky too, though, because like for each player is a little different. And I have a lot of guys around the league who are different type of players. And for JK, with his upside and type of player he is, there's only so many people he can really relate to, right? Like, it's not just
right.
easy to everyone for him, but like Jimmy is a very natural, like, okay, I mean, you see what he's done the last 6 years, been to the finals twice, like scored 50 points basically in big, Eastern Conference semis games, Eastern Conference finals games. So like it's he definitely, JK is going to listen when Jimmy talks. There's no doubt.
That's awesome. It's a relief seeing that. What was your take going back to that Sacramento game for a second? I almost feel like you were downplaying a little bit how Kuminga played. I thought he was awesome. He was 24 points, 9 boards, and he was 3rd on the team in scoring, which is part of the reason why I don't think he got the accolades. And again, I know they lost that game, but to see the young core, Dre wasn't in there, Jimmy wasn't in there, Steph was out. To see them handle that game the way they did, if Russell Westbrook didn't play like the Hall of Famer he's going to be, they win that game. But one thing that I noticed, and I also noticed this even in games where Jimmy and Dre play, is defenses are squaring up on Kuminga. I don't know if you're noticing that too. Like when Steph is out, Kuminga's is the threat. I'm seeing that recognition from defenses. I don't know if you see that as well, but I'd love to get your take on how maybe Kuminga is handling the fact that on some nights he's seeing doubles. He's being forced to be a facilitator because scoring is not as easy when 2 guys are squaring up on you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. It's means you're making progress. People are noticing that, and it's just a key for him, like when to pass, not overpassing. Like I always say to him, like, you pass so you can keep scoring. Like that's who you need to think like, meaning make the right play. Don't do stupid stuff. But just finding that balance is something that we're constantly, like, he's constantly looking at. It's a compliment to have defenses like moving stuff towards you. And I think the Sacramento game, I was just, like I said, I hit him, right after the game. We talked, we were together that night. We drove back to San Francisco and we just talked about, hey, look, whether you fouled the guy in your 5th foul or not, it doesn't matter. Like, you shouldn't have been in that position. That's what matters. And he agreed. And that's a learning, I have young guys all the time. They pick up 2 fouls and, then you kind of work through it and they, you get a little handsy or you get a little too into it. And It happens, right? It happens. No, it's just like
Again, in my
learning,
book, I think
learning process.
agreed, and I think he's having a great. And you spoke about being here in Northern California. I want to show this clip real quick. I know we got to wrap it up here. There was a lot of buzz because there was video footage of you and Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. Here's the clip, and there's no audio with this, but when people see a clip like this, where it's an NBA general manager, in this case Mike Dunleavy Jr., former player as well, and his dad has a illustrious history in the NBA as well, and you guys are having a conversation. People were riveted by this, Aaron. I know you can't reveal what the context of that conversation was, but what can you share about that? Like, what were you guys talking about, and what even brought up that moment where you two were sitting there? Is that common? I don't know.
No, we were just talking about how me, him, Steve, and JK need to get out and get a nice tea time in soon. The four of us.
Can't hurt.
But
Can't hurt.
No, we weren't. No, we were just talking about where the year's at, where we're going, and a lot of the stuff he's been excited about with JK and that they're happy about, and stuff that they want to continue to. Mike wants to see JK continue to do better, and Mike's managing a lot, managing 82 games and the up and downs of everything, and handling a lot of personalities. So. Mike does a good job of not getting too up or down and staying the course. So we're just talking about where we were and laughing a little bit about the summer and the chaos of it. And, it was chaotic for both of us. So in that sense, any
regrets, Aaron, about the summer? Is there anything you do differently in hindsight?
No, not at all. Look, I didn't sign up to start doing podcasts and talking to people. It's not like I told you that on the last one. I didn't come in going, let me do that. But to me, the main thing is I just wanted to help people see where JK's at, and I'll continue to do that because I do think he's painted in an insanely unfair light. I've never really seen this before.
No, I don't mean you being on the show. I mean the summer, the summer of.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This summer, to me, I didn't set out to write to change the narrative for JK, but as it went on, the biggest thing for me was I did feel and I still feel it's important for people to understand where JK is coming from, because you see like I said, I've really never seen a player this polarizing, where people blame all their issues on him. And a lot of times it's not. So I think that it's good that this summer kind of highlighted everything and it turned out to where it is. So I don't have any regrets. I wish I got to sleep a little more, but and I didn't get an off season. So my wife's not happy about that with me, but past that, no regrets. It is, we are where we are. We're making the best of it. It's not a perfect situation. No one thought that coming in. If it was a perfect situation, I think the summer would have gone a lot different. We all knew that. Everyone's trying to figure it out, make it work. It was never just going to be how the 4-1 start was, and we're just going to be happy all the time. Kumbaya. Yeah. There's going to be ups and flows. The question is, can you take one step back and 2 step forward? So right now we're in a take a step back stage in terms of how things have been the last few, but can this road trip, that's what we'll see. Can we take 2 steps forward, the Warriors and JK?
The Bay Area and Northern California in general, we love our hoops, Aaron. This is a very basketball rich area, so much so that the Sacramento Kings exist because that used to be a Warriors fan base, and they were so passionate about the Warriors in basketball that the Kansas City Kings moved here and became the Sacramento Kings. I bring all that up because they're passionate, they care, and oftentimes their anger and emotion is misdirected, is misguided. And more specifically, we can date back close to 30 years ago when you had a lot of fans incredibly siding with a coach over Chris Webber. And that was a very regrettable situation. More recently, you had a fan base booing Joe Lacob on Chris Mullen's retirement night because he traded Monte Ellis instead of Stephen Curry. That just to put things in perspective, half this fan base was pissed off at Warriors ownership because they kept Steph. They all regret that now. I promise you that. Yeah. And that's just how sometimes this place rolls, man.
It's passionate fan base.
It's passionate, and it's not just basketball. Good. Again, this is where I'm dating myself, but I mean, there was a time where the 49ers had Joe Montana and Steve Young,
Yeah.
and when the baton was finally handed to Steve Young, it took him like 3 years to win over this area. I mean, because until he won a Super Bowl, like people doubted him. They thought maybe like Steve Bono should have taken over.
I remember whoever took the
Yeah.
monkey off his back, and I remember on the sidelines in '94. I was young, but I still like somehow remember that. So yeah, no, listen, you guys are. It's as passionate.
That's a great memory. Side note. That's a great memory. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
it's a passionate fan base. I get it. I'm from Cleveland. I understand where people are coming from. So
Hell
I
yeah.
get it. But look, like it was good to be on. JK is going to keep plugging away. This road trip is going to be fascinating to watch, and I'm hoping that there's some. If they go 500, I think it'll be really good.
Agreed.
And I'm hoping that they can, do some turning the corner here and figure some stuff out.
Agreed. And I can't thank you enough for the time, brother. Like when the moment I announce you're coming on, dude, it's a buzz. Everyone's attention is grabbed.
You gave me too easy of a question. Next time you got to put the people that don't like JK on. That's
well, I mean, again, done. If you're willing to, if next time we'll get a little more deeper. I love you, brother. Thank you, man. I can't appreciate. The appreciation level. I can't even describe it.
No problem. Happy to talk.
Thank you, brother. Thanks again to Aaron Turner for joining the program. Interesting, by the way. After I stopped recording, and Aaron is incredibly forthright with me. I really wish I could share everything. Maybe in time we will, because one thing Aaron Turner told me after we stopped recording is I was expecting harder questions. Like when I showed that one tweet about the Jimmy Butler question, his response was, next time make the questions harder. Done. I was like, I couldn't believe him hearing that. He also added again, like he's in a position where he can't talk about Kerr the way I can. So it was one of those things where Aaron Turner has to be diplomatic to a certain extent when it comes to the relations with the head coach. But it's always a pleasure. It's at a bare minimum, folks, even if every question you wanted was not answered, I can assure you this. I'm asking him every single question that I want answers to, whether we're recording or not. And in the situations where we're not recording, unless he specifically tells me off the record, I will tell you. So I'm picking his brain just like I pick everybody's brain. And this is a relationship that I'm still in shock about in terms of even having, just because he's very candid with me, man. He's a good dude. He really is a good dude. Side note, the more I get to know Aaron, the more I get that vibe from him. He's genuine. Like, he really cares about his clients, and that's huge for an agency. And speaking of sports agents, his operation is independent. It's small. It's not like CAA or the family or some of these huge corporate entities that have like massive client lists. I mean, I don't know what you'd classify Clutch in terms of, are they a big agency? Are they a growing small independent agency? I don't know where they're at. Varys, Aaron Turner's agency, they fit the prototype of an independent family run operation. So respect to him for that. And thank you, Aaron Turner, again, for coming on the program. And thank all of you for joining us. We'll be back at this immediately following the Warriors and the Thunder. This is going to be a hell of a road trip. I think we're going to learn a lot in these next 2 weeks. What Aaron told me, I don't know if he said this on the show, but a 500 road trip is a win. Wholeheartedly agree. I mean, look, again, 6 games, bookended with back-to-backs. The first back-to-back, OKC, San Antonio. That's Tuesday, Wednesday. And again, we go live after every show. Friday at San Antonio again. And if you know the Warriors' track record of games in San Antonio, it's not pretty. Then they have, I guess, a reprieve in New Orleans, if you're willing to call it that. Just keep the players in the hotel, please. And then the game, and then the schedule shifts to Orlando for 2 road games, a big Orlando team. a very physical team who's underachieving so far. So they're not going to take the Warriors lightly. And then Miami, who is Heat culture, still going strong. Hopefully Jimmy Butler will be motivated for that one and provide a little extra spice. And let's hope Kuminga, for the sake of everyone, if you're a Warriors fan, continues to improve. And again, I've always said this, and I believe it. Great things happen when Jonathan Kuminga plays. The numbers support it. I root for Kuminga because he's a former Golden State Warriors draft lottery pick who has the potential for greatness. Why wouldn't you root for that? I don't know. I've never understood wanting something different than that. Anyways, I'm rambling now. Thank you so much. We're back in 24 hours and change post game, Warriors Thunder. Let's see how Steph's comeback game goes. Thank you, Aaron Turner. Thank you, all of you. Are we done? I think we're done. Bye-bye.